Welcome to Bible Connection, the podcast where we talk about the Bible and how it connects to every facet of life imaginable.
Join us today as Melinda Bauma, publisher of Zondervan Bibles, talks with Klaus Krogh of 2K Denmark. Klaus and his team are the world's leading typographic designers for Bibles. Listen in as they discuss the surprising complexity of Bible typesetting and the importance of beautifully designed Bibles, his life's passion.
If you are about to publish a Bible, you have no excuse not to make it readable. I mean, if unreadable Bibles are of no use, that's salt without its power. So what can you use it for?
I think one thing that would be great, first of all, just tell us who you are, like what do you do in the company that you run, and then I'll ask you some more questions along the way.
Sure. For more than 32 years, my wife and I has been running a graphic design company. We started off just the two of us. It's grown since, but I told her, don't expect this to become a big company because it's not going to grow very much, because we will insist every time we have an assignment to try to achieve the very best we can do. And we might not find very many customers that are willing to pay the amount for us to do the very best every time. But I think it's more important that when you do something, you make sure to try to make your very best of it. So we started the company as graphic designers, and that was nice. And I was lucky to have my old employee as a customer. That's the Norwegian Bible Society. I've been working in the Norwegian Bible Society for 7 years. And so we started making Bibles, and that's been sort of the core of the business ever since. But only designing Bibles, you have to have a lot of contacts if you should fill up a working year with only designing Bibles. So we thought, well, why don't we start doing typesetting? Because the typesetting we saw weren't good enough. So we started doing typesetting, and that was nice, but only to find out that they do it half price in India. So what did we do? Well, we started doing programming. And so we executed typesetting by programming, and that made us compatible with the world market prices, but we still did a better job, I think, because that's proven by the customers we have been able to attract ever since. Now the company is called 2K Denmark, and it has customers in 23 countries in 6 continents. We have 95% of what we do is export. So although we live in Denmark, that's not our main market. Our main market is the US, and we are extremely happy to work with a lot of the major Bible publishers in the US.
So it's interesting. It sounds like a lot of the journey has in some ways come out of necessity. Like, okay, how do we move this forward? We need to be able to do this. We need to do that. Or just opportunity. Like when you and Liv, your wife, started 2K, were you planning to go into Bible design or just general graphic design?
No, general graphic design, I think, was the ambition. I've sort of had been making Bibles for 7 years. It's been great. I love it. It's highly complicated, and I love that as well, because makes you a small possibility to shine while you do that, and that's nice. I am a Christian. I read the Bible every day, and so the Bible means a lot to me as well. But I think we started off sort of with the ambition of doing everything graphic design at least. And we have, during the sort of the course of time, also been the biggest deliverer of complicated textbooks like math and biology for university level and so on. We still do. We still work with the university presses like Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, Harvard, Cornell. So it tends to be the very best of customers, but that's again, we were sort of most suited for the publishing house that really wants something special, and then they come to us. So.
Okay, that's really cool. And talking about textbooks, tell us, how did you get into even just typographical design and the interest of how you can make a complex item like a textbook, a dictionary, a Bible?
Well, my first recollection, I was in 3rd grade. and doing math. And we had our assignment, and I was always been very quick doing math, so I did them. And I sat looking at all my friends in the class, and I was wondering, while I looked at those guys and the book, I was wondering, is math difficult, or does it only look difficult by the way they make the books? And could you make math books look easy so everybody could learn math?
Interesting.
And I worked from that, actually, sort of trying to lower thresholds in conveying difficult messages. That's what I do. Yes, I took the fascination of letters further. At one point, when I was 13, I wanted to write Bob Dylan on my wall. So I wondered, how do you write Bob Dylan on your wall? Well, you start designing a typeface. I thought that's where you start. So I started designing this typeface, and when I had letters enough to write Bob Dylan on the wall, I sort of found that it was much more interesting to make the complete alphabet rather than to write Bob Dylan on the wall. Because suddenly the interest of designing letters were taking over from. No, actually there were Bob Dylan on my wall, and I did buy his records ever since. But yeah, the letters is more important for me.
I think that's amazing, because I'm thinking, when I wrote on my wall, it wouldn't have been someone as cool as Bob Dylan, unfortunately. But I would never have even thought about the letter forms before I just started going.
No.
Like that just amazes me. Like you said, that fascination with letters and started so early for you. And just I love hearing how that played out in different ways in your life, because I don't know that everyone would think, I want to make a whole typeface in order to write Bob Dylan on my wall, right? And that's part of what makes you, I think, really good at what you do. You see the big picture. You don't just go to the solution or the outcome. You kind of scale it back and start with the bigger picture and like whittle your way into there. Does that? Would you agree with that? That kind of sounds like who you are.
I think that's something wonderful about seeing opportunities. Every time we've been working together, and I'm very happy we've done that a lot. If you have the ability to put on something extra, that's really what I love. So deliver what we agree on, and then adding the extra, the things I didn't tell you about before it was delivered.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's childish. The pleasure I have adding stuff, but I do that. Of course, it's a show off, but I do it also because I have very little patience with spoiled opportunities. And of course, it's an opportunity to deliver something and then add something extra. That's an opportunity.
I love that.
And that's basically a story about what we do, and we're proud doing that. But it's also a story about life itself, isn't it? We're given this chance to do well, and it's up to ourselves how we use that chance. And we get a chance every day. Every morning you wake up, there's a chance to do good. So, and I know from experience, if you keep that thought all through the day, well, you're happy when you go to bed as well. So it's a question of being grateful for the life that's been given to you, and then use it. Don't let things slip away through your fingers. Use it. Take a grab on it and create. I think that's an obligation. At least if you feel that it's something for you, everything that you should use, because everything gets more beautiful when it's been used a lot and stuff. And I think that's, you couldn't put that directly into graphic design or type design or typesetting or whatever. But if you look at life that way, there's so many possibilities out there. That's just starting using them. And the more talented you are, the more obligations to do well.
I agree with that.
And even help others.
That's really beautiful. And I can tell everyone listening that from experience, that is how you live. You're probably the most optimistic go-getter I know. It's hard to keep up with you and your energy and your optimism and ambition. You've used that word already a couple times. That's one thing that resonated with us when we started working together was You say this phrase quite often, like to have the ambition, meaning like the desire, like the ambition to take such a big step and do something that's never been done before, and to say it's worth it, and we have an obligation to do that. How does your faith drive that outlook that you just described of every day is a gift, it's a chance to do something good, it's a chance to do something extra, and there's an obligation and responsibility to do that?
I think underneath, it's completely correct the way you describe it. I think underneath that lies, it all builds on love, actually. I love the fact that I'm allowed to be here. I basically love all human beings. I do. And I'm sure that love I owe to my faith. So it's somehow I practice my faith by the love that I receive and the love I'm capable of giving. It wouldn't have been there without my faith, I'm sure.
The Bible as we know it was originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek thousands of years ago. Through the centuries, Bible scholars have translated these ancient writings into languages we can understand today. Some of the world's leading biblical language scholars started the NET translation in 1995. The unique process that the scholars went through to develop the NET has created an unprecedented transparency, not only into their translation decisions, but into the decisions English translators have been making for centuries to accurately render and preserve Scripture so you and I can understand it. The detailed verse-by-verse notes in this Bible make it a wonderful tool to see for yourself the beauty and meaning behind the inspired Word of God, not just in this translation, but in the Bible you use every day. Check the show notes for a link to more information on the NET Bible.
And that's one of the things that impresses me about you and your team and us, how we have worked with you. It's not only the love like we have for each other in working relationship, or the love that you've shown even my family and different people. It's the love for the reader that you'll never meet. And I think that's what really shines through. So actually we should probably tell the story of how we did meet. I'll tell kind of my leading up to when I met you, and then you can jump in with how you approached me. But we met 4.5 years ago, from my memory, at an event in the fall. And we won't name which project, but we had just launched a really big project at Zondervan Bibles. And before that, I'd been doing some research trying to figure out how do we keep pushing ourselves to be better at all that we do. And I came across 2K Denmark. You know, I saw very quickly, oh, you guys are being lifted up as like the best possible Bible layout, design, typeset group in the world. So how do I find you? And so I started trying to find you, but you're in Denmark, and everything I could find at the time was in Danish. And I was like, I can't read this. So I kind of thought, well, I don't know if I'll ever find Klaus. Or I didn't know your name at the time, but I don't know if I'll ever find them. So I traveled to this event, and...
Yeah, well, we had a table. I don't think we had a booth. We had a table. But we were right opposite publishing houses having a booth, and I saw this project that I've actually been waiting for, because there was a great lineup of authors, and I said, that one I'm going to have a look at. And I was so deeply disappointed when I looked at it, because, you know, making things, if you are about to publish a Bible, you have no excuse not to make it readable. I mean, if unreadable Bibles are of no use, that's salt without its power. So what can you use it for? And alas, when I opened the book, I'm not very good at suppressing my meanings. They come kind of quickly. And I must have said something that was not very pleasant, but hopefully a little bit funny as well, because as it seems, yes, the person that was standing in the booth ran away and tried to grab you. And I remember the first sound I heard from you was a scream somewhere in the background when you were told that I was there.
I forgot that part.
But that's that's completely true.
Yes, it is.
And we've been talking ever since.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but it's I think sort of that burning ambition to know that you're stewarding the Word of God, and this is what means everything for both you and I, and we got a chance to do well. So, I mean, not taking that chance. I mean, it would be make no sense. And always trying to challenge the borders. Always try to go that step further. And it's a sheer pleasure to have somebody to discuss whether we can get even further, and we will. I mean, we haven't seen the last of this yet. So,
Agree.
Yeah. So and it's pushing towards an even more glorified Bible. The Bible is well worth all our tedious work and stuff, and it's well worth staying up late hours and so on. So it's a luxury to be able to try to create even better Bibles when the Bible is such a central part of whom you are.
Well, I think that's really great. And what you described there is true. If we're getting to know who you are, one thing I've really appreciated about you, Klaus, is you don't hold back. You share your feedback, you push us to be better, but out of a love for the reader. So I remember that conversation and you sharing how disappointed you were with that Bible. And as you sat down and walked me through it all, I became disappointed in something, in a way, in something that we had worked so hard on, and we were still proud of the work, but realized maybe that we could have done better. So maybe disappointed is not the word, but I started to learn a lot about how we can do better for the reader. And that's what I love about you and your team, is you're always pushing yourselves, your partners. I'm sure everyone you've worked with would say this. You push us to all get better, not because it's about pride or you're doing your best work and showing that off. It's about this ultimately serves the reader and it serves our Creator to do our best work on His text. And it's good for the environment. I remember you talking about typefaces and how the right Bible typeface can also even help, save trees and paper. We want to talk maybe a little bit about that, because I think that's a really interesting side benefit of great typography.
Well, we are a type foundry. We do a lot of typefaces, and we've been very, very happy to do a lot of typefaces for the Comfort Print, working together with you and others at HCCP. When you mention typefaces to people that not in the business, it's first of all, it's about readability. A typeface is either readable or not readable, and people have their ideas and opinions about that. So, and for sure, as I said, there's no reason to publish a Bible that's not readable, so that's very important. But what we try to add to the typefaces we design is, first of all, 40 years of designing Bibles and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So we have a lot of theories on how to design a typeface that we're going to treat very, very poorly, in the sense that we're going to put it in the smallest size possible. We're going to print it on a web press that runs very fast on extremely thin paper. So these are sort of the worst conditions you can put a typeface in. So you need to take extra care to make sure to adjust that when you design a typeface. That's one thing we do. So they're durable in printing. You can add that to the readability. But we know that we make Bibles for readers that is going to carry this Bible around, and they would love to have the biggest typeface possible in the thinnest Bible imaginable. So to combine that is difficult, but that's what we do. When we began delivering Bibles, that's 10 years ago almost, to the US, there was no Bible we couldn't, at the same time, save 20% of the page count, make it a more beautiful layout, and increase the readability about 20%. We could do that. That was a solid promise, because the experience we had and the choices we've made and the way we designed would ensure that. And so that's also the basis why we started talking together. Is of course there's these three things. You want to ensure the readability. You want to make sure that the Bible text is presented with gentle authority. That's how we want to read the Bible, and that it's economical to produce. Why? Because we save 20% of the paper, and that's a lot of trees, I suppose. And there's another thing to it. I'm sure that all readers will appreciate a thinner book, as long as the readability is there and the aesthetics is there. So I think we create more satisfied readers by doing these three things. And as you say, that's our ambition. I mean, we can be proud enough of what we do. If it doesn't work out there, it's not worth anything. We're here to make sure to lower the thresholds for more people to read more in their Bible, because we know it changes lives. And maybe my fuel really is the reader's love for the text itself that's conveyed by the design and the typefaces and the beautiful words. So that's the fuel in my engine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the world has been so blessed by that. If you think about how many Bibles are read, that 2K has had a part in at some level.
Well,
it's amazing.
Thank you. Don't say that again. I'll start to cry.
I know, and if you start to cry, I'll start to cry. So it won't. So how can the letter forms, like how can a unique typeface, can it actually help? I guess I don't know. Can it help that process of learning to read silently? Or does it just more imprint so that you'll never forget, like you said, the smell, the color, something that the whole experience comes back to you when you think about reading the word in a unique layout?
We are the God that made us is pretty amazing, because when you think about it, the first words you read were typesets with any typeface, and it created these words. You learned to read it, the word house. But suddenly you're capable of reading in any of the 2,000-3,000 of different typefaces out there. See, that's how amazing it is, this system of reading. And you ask, well, can a type design make reading more easy? And it can. See, we do design. We do design not to make things look pretty, but to make things work. And the side thing is that they become pretty when they work. So we gain both. But if one emphasis, that's on the functionality of things. So we make things functional, and by making them functional, by making letters functional, we create beautiful words. And beautiful words is what we want to read. Then we draw on, we always have sort of foundation in our design work that's a storytelling, that's a narrative, where we try to define what problem are we solving, and then what is the main source of inspiration to take the design choices. And often enough, we dig into stylistic art history and find out what kind of message are we conveying, and what style period does that belong to, and can we find something there that's of use for us, and then we make up this little story, the narrative that is a guideline for all the design choices we take. Not that we try to duplicate anything, because we never do. But inspirational background is one thing. If it's not added with the ambition to make it contemporary and to make it a child of our time, then you lose out. Then you don't just copy old stuff. But we try to add stuff so that although it might be a Renaissance typeface, it's never been seen before. We take it at places where it's never been, and we created more beautiful words.
Wow. I think it's just so fascinating. Like this world, you've opened up my eyes to, I think some of us have even shared with you, after working with you at times, we can't walk around our own cities without looking at typefaces used, on signs or posters or books, whatever, and just starting to go, oh, like my shampoo brand, like why did they pick this?
Yeah.
You've ruined us. No, you've made us better at what we do.
I know, and I'm sorry. I remember when we did the NIV, we had a 2-day seminar. I started saying, well, I'm going to change your life.
And you did.
You will never be the same after this, and nobody were. I'm sure.
Nope. Well, Klaus, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for giving us a glimpse behind the scenes of what you do and what drives you to do what you do. Really appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.